Today we're going to talk about the commanders that you can use in the KvK Season 1 in Rise of Kingdoms. Now, many of you guys are excited. You're getting into KvK for the very first time. But of course, there is limitation, and you're also curious, what is actually the best commander that you are going to be expecting in KvK 1 of Rise of Kingdoms? My name is Shinchi42. Welcome to Rise of Kingdoms, and today we are going to talk about the commanders in ROK. My name is Shinchi42. If you'd like to see more Rise of Kingdoms content, consider subscribing to the channel, turning that notification on so you're not going to miss out on content, and of course, press like into the video if you find this video to be helpful to your success in Rise of Kingdoms. So here is the list of usable commanders in the KvK Season 1. And knowing this is very important because whenever you go to each KvK, each season will have a different limits. It is very important because sometimes there are players who migrate from an older kingdom going to the newer kingdom. So if you are going to Season 1, these are the only commanders that you can actively use in the KvK when you're going to battle, when you're going to defeat barbarians, fortress, holy sites, and everything. This is all you can get. Now, let me tell you something interesting. When I first started into this game, there are much less commanders that we have available in the KvK Season 1. All right. Actually, I think it even lasted until Season 2. So here's a little bit of information in here. To ensure the balance in the Lost Kingdom, the roster of usable commanders will be based on the matched kingdom with the longest history. Commanders and equipment unlocked in the Season of Conquest will be unavailable. So big information there is that it will be based onto the match kingdom with the longest history, which means it's going to be in the oldest kingdom. So since this is KvK 1, what KvK 1 means is that you are going to be battling the kingdoms that are around you in the first set of KvK. So as you can see, 2497, 2498, 2499, 2500, 2501, 2502, 2503, 2504. So these are in the same continent. Whenever you go and zoom out on the map, you will be able to see the continent of your kingdom. Now let's go back into the rules in here and go into the limitation of the commanders. And let's go into the limitation of the available equipments. So I want you to have a good glance into this because these are the legendary gears that you can use in this KvK, and as well as the epic gears. Alright, so now let's go into the commanders, which are really good commanders here in the KvK 1, and what should you be investing in KvK 1. Now, my biggest thing is that when you're looking into KvK, you cannot only think about KvK 1 by itself. What I highly suggest whenever you are investing in a legendary commander is that you are actually looking into the late stages of the game. Now, this is my secondary account, so therefore that this is not my main, and therefore I have already experienced the late stage of the game. This is a very early stage, and if you're investing into the wrong commanders, it is going to affect you greatly moving forward into your next KvK. So what commanders then should you invest in Rise of Kingdoms Season 1 and going on to the further? So what I highly recommend is investing into Yi Song-ye. Now, Yi Song-ye did not come around until midway of the KvK. So right now we actually have the Wheel of Fortune for Yi. Now, Cao Cao is a great commander. It will have a great value for you long term. The reason why I say that because there is a museum building that's going to be coming out, as you progress into the game, and Cao Cao can definitely help you do barbarian forts as well. And it's a good farm hunter because he has mobility. Richard is a great commander, something that you should definitely work on. If you are a free-to-play, you can definitely do a 5-5-1-1. as well as with Yi Song-ye as a free-to-play 5511. But if you are a spender, of course, you have a lot more flexibility. You can definitely max it out. Now, for a spender, you might want to consider like Minamoto. This is a commander that is going to be purchased through the VIP. Now, this commander will have a long-term value. Before, it was kind of meh, but now, since of the museum buff, now it brings the commander a lot better because you'll have extra bonus in the future. If you don't know about museum buff yet, make sure you check it out on YouTube. I have videos and other content creators as well. Now, let's take a look into the Charles Martel in here. Charles Martel is a great commander as well. Great one. The reason why I put a lot of greats in there because in the KvK 1 and KvK 2, the value of the Richard Martel is actually really good. Or you can do Martel Richard, really strong, and it will last for a little bit longer in the KvK season. Now that investment there will give you a good return of investment. It can go fight in the open field. It can be in defense. It will work really well in the early stages of the KvK because in KvK 1, KvK 2, they are pretty dominant. There's really no commanders that can really destroy them. All right, so these two commanders are really good and something that you should work on, especially if you are a infantry setup. Now let's talk about El Cid. El Cid is a commander that I maxed out in my main account, but the reason why I did that because during that time there wasn't any other commanders and we didn't know that there was more commanders going to come out, so therefore my El Cid was maxed out since I was an archer player. Now, do I recommend El Cid? I don't really recommend El Cid anymore because you can get other legendary commanders in the future that will be much better. Therefore, I should say if you are going to be an infantry player, then you should be saving your sculpture for the next archer commanders that are going to come out. Now, Hannibal Barca, this is actually very interesting. Of course, this is a spender. If you are a spender, I wouldn't hold you back on getting Hannibal Barca because I did max Hannibal Barca. The reason why I say this as well is that on the long term, if you end up wanting to use Hannibal Barca, there is a museum buff for Hannibal Barca as well. But Hannibal Barca will help you in the early stages because there's not a lot of commanders that you can max out. So being a whale and you can max a legendary commander, it will help you significantly and lead your team to success as well. But Hannibal Barca at the later stage, it's not really as popular as it would be into the early stage. Cleopatra. This is of course a gatherer commander. Don't put your sculptures in there. You'll be able to get Cleopatra sculptures through events. Mehmed, there are players who are very invested in Mehmed. This is not a bad commander as well. It's good. It will help you in the Canyons events. Mulan, this is very more strategic because Mulan will probably not gonna be like your every player to have Mulan and max out because this is going to be more situational. Definitely going to go for whales to max it out. Aethelflaed, of course, we know this. Aethelflaed is a commander that is a free that you can get from the expedition. Sundeok in Ishida. Lubu, these are some of the commanders that these two are gatherers, so I wouldn't really put so much focus onto it. And Lubu is I wouldn't really recommend for you to work on Lubu as well as Ragnar as well. So these are the legendary usable commanders in here. Now here's the thing, you can do a lot of mix and match. Let's say you don't have a Richard and Martel, you can do a Richard and Zun 2, Richard and Yuji. So you can definitely do some mix and match. Some of the things that I did in the very beginning is like I did a Herman YSG, Kosunoku YSG. Those are some of my combinations before when I was playing my main account. Another thing that I want to say, like when you're looking into the epic commanders in here, Zun 2 is definitely the number one. We recommend hugely on Zun 2. You definitely should get Zun 2. Now, for archers, there's a lot of debates really going for Herman or Kosunoki. Now, Kosunoki is really good, especially if there's a big clash because you get the AoE. Now, Herman is definitely great for that one-on-one situation and able to silence the opponent. So pick your poison. If you want to hit more damage, you might want to go to Kosunoki. Scipio, not really the best. It's just like a Julius Caesar. This is something that you should work on. Julius Caesar. And Frederick, not really the best, really, in my own opinion. Joan of Arc going to be a farmer. UG is not a bad commander, honestly. I suggested that you should definitely do a Richard UG or Martel UG, especially if you're starting out, you're trying to build the legendary commanders out there. Great for free to play as well, investment into it. Boudica, more of a barbarian peacekeeper, so as well as Lohar. Pelagius, of course, it is going to be a cavalry march. You can definitely do a Tao Pelagius. That could be something that you can do, or you can do a Pelagius and Belisarius. So Belisarius is pretty much kind of like a mini Tao in some way. Here's Baybars, another great cavalry commander that you can use. Osman is a great commander as well, really high damage, so that's something that you might want to look into. Kiera, good for peacekeeping, and then these are going to be pretty much kind of a farmer. And Diao Chan, it's all right, not really the main highlight for the epics in here. Now Bjorn Ironside in here, really good. I think players should have Bjorn Ironside. I would highly recommend like a Zuntu Bjorn Ironside or Bjorn Ironside and Zuntu. Either way, combination in the very beginning that you can switch it up, right? Now let's take a look into Bjorn Ironside in here. Let's see. I would highly recommend, I think, having Bjorn as a primary and Zuntu as a secondary. So if you look into Bjorn Ironside, you can have this skill damage taken increase by, right? And it's going to last for 3 seconds. So you want to use this first, this skill to cast. So Bjorn Ironside and Zuntu combination is actually a good setup in here for your first KvK until you are able to work onto some of your legendary commanders. So you really need to work onto your epic commanders before, right? This is the foundation of your account. So if you're not a big spender, you can't just max out the legendary commanders right away. I mean, even if you're a spender, you still need to start working onto your epics for the early stages before you max many of the legendary commanders that you are working on. Queen Tamar of Georgia, I believe it's a farmer, so it's not really that much significant since we are not really focused onto the farming setup in here in this video, since this is going to be more of a commander usage of battle. So to recap this thing is that by looking at this again, like I mentioned, Yi Songye is a great one. Richard, Cao, Minamoto for spenders, Martel, and Hannibal Barca, situational. These are for spender. And I would say pretty much that's it that are really reliable that you can use. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 commanders. There's Archer, which is Yi Songye, Cavs, which is Cao and Mina, and infantry going to go for Richard and Martel. And when you're going to the epic, of course, you can definitely do a mix and match and go for legendary and epic. Highly recommended here is that Zuntu number 1, Kosu, Herman. You can do Pelagius, of course, Baybars, and Belisarius. Alright, and Osman is okay as well, but this is going to be more into the skill damage if you're looking for it, and a little bit more increase into the leadership. Alright, guys, this is pretty much what you can use in the KvK Season 1. I kind of given you some of the tips in here on how you are going to approach this KvK, and what are some of the commanders that are actually going to be most beneficial for your KvK Season 1. And as you go into KvK Season 2, and as I go into KvK Season 2, we're going to do this discussion again. Anyway, rockers, hopefully this is actually helpful for the players that are going to KvK Season 1, regardless if you are a new player or maybe you are a player who are going back. I wasn't even sure if you can actually go back to KvK Season 1 if you're like in the very late stages. So I want to know that in the comment section below. Let me know. Alright, since I don't fully grasp all the information that's being laid out there because there's so many. Anyway, rockers, thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, turn your notification on, and press that like, and I'll see you again next time.